This HAN Network video is brought to you by Walter Stewart's Market.
Very happy to be joined here on the HAN Network by Christopher Mad Dog Russo, of course, longtime host of Mike and the Mad Dog, and now on SiriusXM, where he hosts Mad Dog Unleashed, as well as High Heat on the MLB Network. Chris, good to see you.
Well, boys, a pleasure. Looking forward to this. Go ahead, pal.
All right, let's get it started. We've got a big football game coming up between Darien and New Canaan. I'm still trying to figure out how Darien shuts down Michael Collins and the New Canaan offense, but on the other hand, there's Timmy Graham and the Darien offense. He's been pretty good. How do we break this game down?
It's a tricky game. Obviously the two mutual opponents, you got to throw the Greenwich game out because that's a family thing for New Canaan, so that probably played into it. New Darien's done well in this game in the last 3 years. We all know that. 2 years ago, that was a powerhouse New Canaan team, and they won on Thanksgiving. I understand New Canaan got the game back on the state final, but they won the first game last year. Same thing, blew a big lead. I think Darien's going to win the game. I'm going to be come out and say it. A lot of pressure on New Canaan. They have quote unquote the All-American quarterback. I think Darien kind of comes in here a little under the radar, which they like. They came from behind last year, down 20-0 at the half, and they came back and won the game. I have a funny feeling, and they're not going to play again.
Right.
So I think that New Canaan, this is a significant scenario based on the fact that New Canaan can't get the split. I think the line play. Now, I haven't seen Darien play. I've seen New Canaan a couple times, and I might be wrong, and Collins is great. But, if anybody knows how to sort of slow them down a little bit, get them in a little bit more of a choppy situation, it's that Darien defense. They're not intimidated by New Canaan. They understand what New Canaan is up to, so they're not going to be awed by what New Canaan has to do. Listen, close game, and I might be wrong, and the quarterback is great, but I think Darien might win another one. I think they might win a close game here. I really do. I wouldn't want to see it. I'd like to see New Canaan finally close the deal on Thanksgiving, but if I was a betting man, I would lead to Darien.
Is it a question of who's going to blink first, who makes the first mistake?
Well, I think the Darien defense, I know they got that big kid going to Connecticut. He seems to cause havoc in this game. I think the Darien defense will slow New Canaan up a little bit, and New Canaan's identity is their offense. And if you get them a little off kilter, it's a little bit more of an even deal for Darien. They're pretty good on offense, seems to be pretty good on defense. New Canaan's an offensive team. And when you slow that offensive team up, Giants-Bills, Super Bowl.
Right.
When you slow that offensive team up, all of a sudden you take away a little of their personality, and then the whole game falters a little bit. And I think Darien they're not going to let New Canaan's not scoring 50 points in this game.
Right.
So as a result, New Canaan's used to doing that. And once they realize that they aren't going to do that, the game becomes a little bit more of a turf warfare game. I think that's why I give the edge to Darien. We all know New Canaan's going to score. They're going to, but if they keep the game in the 20s, and I think Darien can do that, I think Darien's got an excellent chance to win a game. And again, they are not intimidated by New Canaan. New Canaan comes out, they blow people out, they play the spread, guys wide open, quarterback got the great arm, and you say, oh my God, how are we going to stop this? Darien won't feel that way.
Right.
And I think that's an advantage for Darien.
Does either team have the chance to run the ball? Because neither team really has this year. Shelby Grant of Darien can do some running. Is that an X factor? Can that be introduced?
I don't know Darien as well as I know New Canaan. New Canaan will run the ball. New Canaan wants to run the ball when they want to run the ball. So if you can make them run the ball because they're not throwing the ball that great and change up a little bit, you got a big advantage if you're Darien. You would think that this game would be through the air. I would not want to have to come from behind if I'm Darien in this game where I'm down, like they did last year. They got a little fortunate.
Right.
Bad play call at the end, ridiculous play call, which hurt New Canaan a lot.
By the goal line.
Oh my God! Yeah, please, you can't.
Play.
That's not the time. Again, that's where people get a little tight. They get a little nervous. The play calling gets a little tight. Players, these high school kids, they get, geez, look at this. For fourth quarter, we're tied. We haven't been in this situation. I think that hurts New Canaan in this game. New Canaan has not really played. They're up 24-7 on Greenwich. They have not played a close game all year. Now, Darien hasn't either, so I understand that. I'm looking at this more from a New Canaan perspective with the way they play. They have not played a close game all year. You get them in the fourth quarter close, it's not going to come as easy. And that's when they get a little nervous. And I think that would be Darien's goal. Get to the fourth quarter in a one-possession game, and let's see how New Canaan handles that. And I think Darien might be able to do that, and that's why I think this is a very close game. I would lean towards Darien.
So bottom line, you're keeping it close, Darien.
Yeah, in the 20s. 27-24 Blue Wave.
Yeah, I can see that. So Collins won't set the quarterback the touchdown pass.
How many more does he need?
He only needs 5, so
I don't think he's getting 5 in
Yeah.
this game. And by the way, one other thing. No touch, no records set, and if he throws the 5, make the game be close. Records are only set, in my eyes, in close games, not in routes. So, no, we don't need any 9 touchdown passes in this, please. That bothered me. You can't do that.
Okay.
In routes, do what you want. I mean, I'm sorry. In close games, do what you want.
Gotcha.
Routes, you got. I know this is a rivalry and everything else, but I don't see 5 touchdowns for Collins in this game. I really don't.
All right, no 70-0 like
No, I
1962.
definitely don't see that. I definitely don't see that. Fun game. Big crowd. You got to get used to it. Neutral site. You got to get used to that. See, it's funny. New Canaan has won the second game in the last 2 years because, they sort of had a little better feel of what Darien was up to. When they play the first time, Darien seems to win. They get New Canaan off kilter a little bit, and I think that might happen again.
Let's switch gears. You looking forward to basketball season?
Yeah, I know. We should be a little better, New Canaan, and the FCIAC's not great.
No,
So
it's
we
not.
we should be a little better, a little. Now, and Darien be a little better too.
Mm-hmm.
So both teams in the hoops will be somewhat improved. New Canaan's got some depth. You would think they play 9-10 guys. Not a lot of height, so up and down, run. They got some athletes. That's what they should do. Remains to be seen if we do. We always get in trouble at New Canaan because we have 4 or 5 football players who we need in the basketball team, and they can't play until December 12th because they're going to play in these state games, which never end. This season's longer than college. This never ends. Why don't we play the state playoffs in February like
Why
we do in
not?
the Super Bowl? It never ends. But so we missed 3 or 4 guys. We have 3 or 4 guys in that football team who we need on basketball. Season starts. It's a little later this year, the 22nd of December, but we don't have our team until that 3rd week in December, which hurts us a little bit.
Let me double back to football. Do you like the FCIAC championship football game, considering the shorter season, the CIAC getting involved with the concussion thing and all?
I think it's a good move.
Yeah.
When New Canaan played New Canaan a few years ago, weren't they 15-1?
15 games, yeah.
I know. Or was it 14-1?
Yeah.
How does a high school team play 14, 15 games? I mean, that's ridiculous. John Madden used to tell me all the time on the radio. He said you should not play high school football. Kids' bodies are not ready for that. And then you play 15 games. That's more games than they play in college.
Yeah.
So I do think they did a good job of closing out the schedule. Now you only get the 9, and of course the 10th game. The problem that I have, we're so good and Darien's so good, the game's never close. I mean, New Canaan really hasn't played. Again, Greenwich, 1 game. It was 24-7. That's not a close game. So the games are not close. That's why this game's a lot of fun. You got 2 behemoths going on. But I do like the shorter schedule. I think that's an advantage. Remember, in New York, you're done already in New York.
Oh, yeah.
And they are playing basketball games in New York Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, generally speaking, you play 6-7 games in New York,
And then the playoffs start. Yeah. In our case, you play 9 in the playoffs. And the thing is we know that these 2 teams are going to dominate. Now, I know Darien changed their classification. I guess they struggle a little bit more in the state playoffs than normally because they're in a bigger classification, right?
Well, they're in Double L now, and they can hold their own in Double L. I think they're going to be okay.
Win?
Close. Southington looks like the best team in the state right now.
I knew Canaan will have no problem. Is that correct?
I wouldn't think they'd have a problem.
Right. So this is their last. They're going to win both games 16-0. So this is their big game.
I think so.
We'll see.
I think without a doubt. Let's switch over to baseball and high heat, and you finished your first season with that. Did you have fun? Second season now. Having fun with it?
Yeah, it's hard every day doing baseball. Middle of July, you're breaking down Astros, White Sox.
Yeah.
That's not that easy. Best place to work. They let me do basically what I want. Remember, the owners own it, so you got to be careful on certain situations. It's not serious. We go out there and fly and go crazy. But for the most part, they allow me to do what I want. Travel perfectly. Bunch of nice guys. The Smoltz, good guy. Pedro Martinez, a great guy. Millar's a good guy. Dan Plesac, a good guy. The athletes are good guys there who work on it. Leiter, great guy. He was in Paris, by the way, at the Eiffel Tower.
Was he really?
On that night.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. He's a great guy. So, I mean, really a tremendous place to work. They made it easy for me. They built a studio in Manhattan, so I don't have to go to Secaucus. Excellent. I don't even mind the off-season so much because it'd be more me. It's only 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Winter meetings we go to. So, I mean, I can't say. No, listen, every day, you got to be on your game 6 months a year, 12 months a year. But, fun. No problem with it whatsoever. And I love baseball.
And you're able to integrate some of that into Mad Dog Unleashed, and your byplay with Steve Torrey is just great. It's fun
you
stuff.
Listen, I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, I've been killing him. Fox Lane's football team, where Marinelli came from,
Yeah, New York guy.
That was they're not very good, but they got a good basketball team, and his kid's a very good baseball player.
No kidding.
And the Fox Lane baseball team is like basically a Division III powerhouse. They're like New Canaan football. Seniors play. 15, 17 kids play college baseball. I mean, they're really good, and Torrey's kid plays there, so I like to make fun of him. He's a little bitty kid. He's at second base, so I like Dustin Pedroia type. So I like to make fun of him. But yeah, we have a good time with Steve. He does a good job, and the radio is still the most fun, which on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah,
the most fun.
Yeah, sure. And in that regard, I always know from going back to the days with Mike, you guys had this great way of breaking things up where it wasn't always sports. And I'm bringing this up because you had a pretty interesting show last week I listened to.
Well, you are a listener. I got to be careful.
You really dug deep into some politics. I was fascinated to listen to that.
Yeah, I usually don't do that, but that was on Wednesday, and Wednesday's usually the day that's a little slow on radio. Football Monday and Tuesday, little Thursday football, Friday football. So Wednesday's your day. You know, it's that Syrian refugee crisis. You had the whole scenario with ISIS, everybody killing the president. What's he supposed to do? It's an incredibly complex problem. And so I got into it, and, you know, that's the sort of topics that people love.
Yeah.
And I think they were a little surprised that I went into it. Even Sports Illustrated, Deitch, who can't stand me. All right? We put that rant. I did a rant. What do? We can't take some Syrian refugees, 10,000? You got to be kidding me. We put that rant out, and he tweeted the rant on SI and loved it. So it's amazing what people love.
Yeah.
They get me off the sports talk once in a while, and I'm on top of this ISIS. I've been reading. I'm on that train every day, so I'm reading that New York Times. And you read that New York Times every day, you get sharp on these topics. So I happen to be sharp on that one. But yeah, that was an interesting one. I'm glad you listened to that.
No,
you take chances. Radio, you got to take some chances.
You do take some chances.
You're going to tick people off. In this country with guns, you're going to tick people off.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you straight out, I remember clear as a bell when the U.S. first attacked in the first Gulf War. You and Mike counting right down to that first announcement. You were running CNN on FAN
really?
that day.
Boy, I have to be careful with you. My goodness
and
gracious.
it was riveting radio to listen to. So stuff like that
well,
always plays. 9/11, of course.
We were all over that.
Without a question. You've done some play-by-play, and
right.
I've always found that great with you. How much fun you guys had. You did some Big East stuff, and then the baseball game you did.
Yeah, we did a Met-Philly game for charity at Shea. Mets beat Jeremy Gonzalez and the Phillies 5-3. Reyes hit a 3-run homer. Yep. I called Mike called the third and the seventh. I called the other innings. Enjoyed that. Called the Major League Baseball game. You know, how many people can say that they called the Major League Baseball game?
Yeah.
The Big East, we used to do the NIT all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did the Big East. So we used to do the play-by-play. And I remember one year we did the NIT. This is probably 17, 20 years ago. And Dave Anderson wrote that, he's the New York Times.
Yeah.
He writes that. And, Red Smith, Pulitzer Prize winner, used to live in New Canaan,
Mm-hmm.
And he born in Green Bay and the whole bit. Anyway, Dave Anderson in the New York Times in his Thanksgiving, we gave thanks to me and Mike for calling the NIT. So that was good. That was probably 20, 25 years ago now.
But you were good at it.
I
enjoyed it.
I love the play-by-play. I haven't done it forever. I'm trying to think if I've done anything else. I got to get the MLB to put me in the booth to do a game. But I really do enjoy the play-by-play. Baseball very much so. I haven't done a lot of football. I used to love to do the hoops. You should hear me at New Canaan games. In my head, I'm doing I'm doing the play-by-play of New Canaan games, and there's not a lot of there is not a lot of highlights when you're doing New Canaan basketball. At least the first couple years. So maybe this year a little better. But I love the play-by-play.
Well,
Fun.
I'll tell you what. You jump in the booth with me sometime.
No. You guys, and what a truck! What a setup! Hersham hand radio was flying. He's a millionaire, this man, for crying out loud. Darien in a close one, Rob. In a close one.
Darien in a close one. Last one for you. Give me some little baseball history tidbit. Give me something good.
Baseball history tidbit. I'll give you one.
We always have a fun chat about this.
Yesterday, Maury Wills' anniversary won the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
That's 1962.
Right.
Wills in 1962 hit .299. He had 130 runs scored, but he had 104 stolen bases.
Right.
Cobb had the record in 1915 of 96.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Dodgers did not win the pennant. Giants beat him in that 3-game playoff. They were down 6-4 in the ninth in Dodger Stadium. They were down 4-2 in the ninth in Dodger Stadium. They got 4 runs off Stan Williams, so they won 2-1, and then they lost to the Yankees in the World Series in 7 games. Anyway, Wills got 8 first-place votes. Mays got 7. Mays hit 49 homers and 130 RBIs. But the best player in the year that year was Tommy Davis.
Oh.
And Tommy Davis somehow did not win the MVP. He only got 3 first-place votes. Played for the Dodgers. He hit third. He hit .346. He had 146 RBIs with 27 home runs and 128 runs scored. He had one of the most incredible years you're ever going to see. 246 runs produced, and he did not win the MVP. He only got 3 votes. Mays got 7. Wills got 8. You know why? Because Mills broke Cobb's record. So because of that, they gave Wills the MVP. And I bring that up because Wills' best friend is Dave Roberts, who just got the Dodger manager job.
There you go. In
There
the
you have it.
62 World Series, fascinating World Series to
Yeah,
go look
3
up.
days of 3 days of rain. McCovey hits the line drive to second base.
Bobby
Giants lose,
Richardson.
and the Giants lose 1-0 in Game 7. And you remember the famous thing about that? In that game, Matty Alou was on first base, and Mays hit the double in the right field corner, and Alou stopped at third. Then McCovey hit the line drive and was out. Everybody said, "Well, Willie, if you were on first base, would you have scored?" He said, "Not only would I have scored, I would have been showered and shampooed."
And Roger Maris playing right field, right?
Boy, Rob's
Oh,
a good sport.
he's-
What are you doing here? You should be doing something else.
Maris had a great arm out
Yeah,
there,
he did.
too. He was a good
He's
defensive
a good
player.
sports fan.
Wow.
Good job.
Great to see you. Thanks for the
Rob.
time, as
Thanks,
always.
pal. Appreciate it.
Our thanks to Christopher Russo for joining us here on the HAN Network. Again, catch him on High Heat on the MLB Network, as well as his own channel, Mad Dog Radio, on SiriusXM, Mad Dog Unleashed. You can catch him weekdays. You are watching the HAN Network.